Hey there! Welcome to Product Marketing Maestros, Tales from the Front Lines. I'm your host, Nitin Karthik. As Director of Product Marketing and a top product marketing voice, I have always found that real world case studies are the true litmus test for the effectiveness of any product marketing strategy. And that is why in this show, we dive into the minds of industry titans as well as rising stars, unpacking their expertise in action packed episodes that showcase the power of product marketing through real world case studies. And today, my friends, we are joined by product marketing maestro Ginevra Mambretti, otherwise known as Ginny. Ginevra is a top 100 product marketing thought leader, and she has experience in tech products across EMEA, APAC, and North America. Fluent in English, French, Spanish, and Italian, Ginny has worked in e-commerce, cybersecurity, and fintech industries in both B2C and B2B products. Ginny is also a speaker and a course instructor at the Product Marketing Alliance and teaches the PMM Black Belt course on maven.com. Ginny has also taught product marketing skills to more than 300 product marketers. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ginny Mambretti. Ginny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nathan, for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. I know you interviewed so many industry great minds, so I'm really honored to be here.
Absolutely, Ginny. Great minds like you is what makes the show tick. So thank you. Wonderful. So, Ginny, we will share with the audience a situation from your experience today, and we will use the ABC framework. So, Ginny will talk about the antecedents, what were the prior challenges. We'll talk about the behaviors, what were some of the actions that you took, and we'll talk about the conclusions, how things played out. So, with that, Ginny, pick a situation from your experience and tell us what were the antecedents, what were the prior challenges.
Sure. Well, I'm going to tell you a story about how to communicate a reprice that's actually going to result in a price increase for some of your customers, which is always, a bit of a tricky situation to find yourself into. Obviously, this is a real story. I'm not making this up. It's a case study from my own experience, and it dates back from my time as a senior PMM at Square, which is a fintech company which primarily deals in card readers and just facilitating payment processes. Now, as for the antecedents, so the situation itself, well, the payments industry is quite highly regulated, and I was managing the UK market at the time. And obviously, as the UK got ready to leave Europe, there were, a bit of changes that came our way. So this was a few years back. And, everyone in the payment industry was a bit on their toes. We didn't really know what to do because obviously we're going to face some increases in terms of structural costs from MasterCard, Visa, and other providers that we work with. So the situation a few years ago was, should we reprice right now? How are we going to do it? Now, during that time, a couple of our competitors decided to reprice straight away in order not to bear the rising costs that we were all going to face. And the problem was that these reprices, even if obviously they were very well motivated and this made a lot of sense because all of us were facing these structural cost increases, were met with a lot of bad press. And we found that quite a few customers from these competitors were actually coming our way to see if we were going to reprice as well, if we were going to change our fees and so on. So at the time, a few years ago, we decided to not do anything, see how it all would play out because those cost increases weren't even so, set in stone at that time because the situation was a bit fluid. So we just decided to keep the status quo and just bear these business costs for about 3 years, actually. So this resulted in Square actually losing a little bit of money for the sake of, our lifelong customers just staying with us. Now, fast forward a few years, the situation could not actively go on like it had been because these costs were just piling up. And we were also looking for a way to, align our pricing with our positioning a little bit because pricing is a bit of a controversial topic, but it's also one of the main levers that we can pull for positioning purposes. So we were just going to, improve our P&L and also do a little bit of positioning work. So we decided to reprice. The thing is that obviously we had quite a few customers at the time. We had almost 150,000 customers in the UK back in the day. And obviously, with a pool like that, someone is going to be negatively impacted by a reprice, obviously. And as a PMM, you obviously don't want to be leading a project that results in a spike in your churn rate. So what happened was that we just analyzed, mainly myself and my team as well. We analyzed what went wrong with the press releases and all that price that had been going on with the past three prices, and we realized that we really wanted to make sure that our communication was on point, and we wanted to make it crystal clear to our customers what was going to change, who was going to be impacted, and also why we were doing that. Because obviously, even if no one really likes a price increase, it's going to be a bit more palatable to your customers if they understand that this price increase is coming because there are, industry-wide facts happening, and it's not really you being super greedy for more profits. So just long story short, this took a long, let's say, gestation process in terms of how to really communicate it and how to make it as transparent as possible. And when we finally proceeded with, this reprice, which again was very heavily regulated because the UK is a very heavily regulated market, it actually went very well. So even with those customers who had been negatively impacted, we did not see a spike in the churn rate, and we only got complaints through customer service, sales, and all these other funnels from about 150 to 200 customers in total, which if you think about that, it was, almost 150,000 customers, it could have been much, much, much worse. Now, what we really did differently on top of really trying to be as transparent and as clear as possible is that, first of all, we were a bit lucky in not being the first ones to do so. So I would say the main takeaway is, even if it's going to be an industry-wide move, it's probably always a good just idea to wait for someone else to be the first one to fire that gun and not you, because obviously someone's going to get that press and you really don't want it to be yourself. And also, obviously, those customers are going to look for a different place where they can find a better rate. Secondly, if you decide to go this way, you also need to be very clear and intentional on the fact that if some of those customers from your competitors are coming your way, you cannot possibly just change your rates 6 months in, because that's going to result in just very, very bad customer experience for those new ones that you just acquired. And the third thing that we did that I think really worked well was that obviously we had an idea of the profiles of the customers that would have been negatively impacted. And many of them were on the, let's say, smaller side of our scale. So they would not necessarily meet the criteria for custom pricing. Was in a situation in which we knew that there wasn't really another place for them to go in the industry because everyone had been raising their prices and we didn't want to lose them. We decided to just ignore that, let's say, minimum rate for custom pricing, and only for these customers that would see a negative impact, just accompany them through the sales funnel to see if we could find another type, let's say, of rate that could maybe be a bit less impactful and a bit more palatable to them. So I would say there isn't really a magic formula in this, but it's just a combination of choosing the good timing and being very clear, very upfront with customers. And even if it's bad news to them, still trying to give them a way to, still get out of this situation with something that's good for them.
Wow. Absolutely fabulous story, Jenny. Thank you for laying that out and telling us exactly how it played out. I think the audience can learn a lot of great lessons from this. So wonderful. So thank you, Jenny. Jenny, tell us, if people wanted to learn more, how can they reach you and find out more about you?
Well, I would say the main, let's say, channel for me would be LinkedIn, because I'm actually a consultant right now. I don't work in-house anymore. So I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So anyone who wants to get in touch, I'm always happy to get a DM or a comment or anything like that.
Absolutely fabulous. Wonderful. Thank you, Jenny. Folks, definitely reach out to Jenny for more great advice like this. And my friends, armed with that knowledge, onward and upward.